We'll call the meeting to order. If we could have a roll call, please. Present.
Present. Here. Here. Present.
Present. Here.
The chair does note that a quorum is present. This meeting was appropriately posted as required on January the 10th, 2025. At this point, we will have the pledge. If you would, Ms. Perkins, be kind enough to lead us.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, we will recognize public comment. Thank you in advance to the presenters who elected to be here today. I will go in the order in which they were handed to me. We'll begin first with Mr. Cummings. And as a reminder, 3 minutes is the time limit on each one of our public comments.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody. Actually, there's a whole bunch of you I haven't seen since last time I was up here because we weren't killing anybody at the jail. So I quit coming. Now we're killing people again, so I'm back. One thing I want to point out, Gettner Drummond's letter that did the jail thing, he signaled down on the bottom that the sheriff needs to take the jail back over. That's what that means. The AG didn't accidentally write that in there. That was not an accident. So I know you went out and got the job again, so you know that that's possible, that you may have to take it over. I hope you're making preparations. Jail Trust, I love you guys. But this looks about like the same health department stuff I was reading 2-3 years ago. It's all the same stuff. So I'm going to go over a few of them. Got these marked. So revealed inmates assigned all housing pods requiring detox medication did not receive prescribed medication. Jail administrator and staff reported facility uses contact staff to conduct site checks. These staff cannot do that if the inmates are not secured in their cells. So why are we sending them around if they can't do it? Now, this is for you all to solve because you all are in charge of the jail now. You're the kind of semi-quasi-public, private, whatever the hell this thing is that's basically not legal. A review of site checks for the death of inmate 39 revealed 13 of the possible 19 site checks were not performed and documented as required. I think this is almost malfeasance. Let's go ahead and move down to the next one. Site checks. Several cells observed having little or no light. Do we not have somebody that can change a light? Are we to the point now where it's the joke of how many Democrats does it change to change a light? You know, are we to that point? If the glass is dirty and you can't see through it, clean it or buy new glass. I mean, you guys are the owner-operators, essentially. And honestly, you should be closed as a motel. Like this is embarrassing. Okay, so inmates and housing pods reported cleaning supplies are not accessible. Now, if you got free labor and they're cleaning their own stuff, you got one job to get them some stuff to clean it. And if you can't do that one job, what are you doing here? Literally, what's in it for you? There's got to be something in it for you to be here. It doesn't make any sense. All right, let's get a couple more real quick because I'm down to 23 seconds. Review of pest control application between 7/23, 7/4. We got bed bugs, roast infestation, mice infestation on the second and fourth floor. That is the exact same problem we had when I was coming in here a year ago, 2 years ago, and everything else. Really and truly look into disbanding this. I know it's just been impossible to do, and I don't know who's actually behind this crap. But y'all got to go. You can't run a jail. You can't run a motel or a restaurant.
Time's expired. Thank you. And Ms. Banna, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm a little bit concerned, you all. The taxpayers of this county were told that we were going to create a jail trust in order to bring about reform, reduce costs, and bring about, most importantly in a democracy, transparency. Unfortunately, as someone who's been an observant of this body from its inception, none of those things have happened. The chief of operations of the jail was terminated approximately 2 months ago. No one told the public about it. The head of the investigation team at the county jail, in charge of investigating all the mortalities at the facility, was terminated. No one in the public was advised of that. I've also been advised by folks who work at the jail that there are other incidents where individuals have attempted suicide or overdosed, end up at the hospital, end up on life support, and the public is not advised of that, nor is the media. So the transparency piece is definitely not taking place. The other thing is I want to address the 10th failed inspection report. You all haven't been able to pass a single inspection, and the last time this county passed an inspection was in 2019 when the county sheriff, P.D. Taylor, operated that jail. I want to talk about your language here in the regarding the executive session, saying that the unlawful unannounced 4-day inspection. I've been working with county jails for over 15 years. The health department does unannounced inspections. The law is clear as a day. It is the precedent of this land. What you are stating in your agenda is nothing less than fraud. Who is being unlawful is this body and this county. And lastly, first death of 2025, bringing us to approximately 52 deaths. You all, your predecessors, and the county taxpayers have blood on their hands. 52 deaths, most of them preventable, happening under your oversight. There was a state multi-county grand jury report that recommended your dissolution. When is enough failure and death enough for you to recognize that you have absolutely failed? I am demanding the dissolution of the jail trust as recommended by a state multi-county grand jury, and this lawlessness in this county must cease.
Our next commenter is Mr. Towery.
How's everyone doing? Hello. First, I'd like to thank the trust and the public for allowing me to come before you today. My name is Tony Towery. I am the former Chief Operations Officer at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. I began at the facility on February 1st, 2023, and was recruited and hired by CEO Garner. I have over 29 years of law enforcement experience, and I hold a master's degree. On November 15th of 2024, I was wrongfully and unjustly terminated after I was pressured and ultimately refused to resign from my position. For the record, I have never received any disciplinary actions or formal complaints. To this day, I still don't know the true basis for the termination. I wanted to come up here and clear the air and say that I've always attempted to do what was right, and I was always fair, firm, and consistent. My termination, the many outright lies, and the many falsified rumors told after my departure are entirely depraved and inaccurate. The truth is, there are many known and unknown critical problems within the facility. I was very open and honest with the CEO, other executives, supervisors, and others about the concerns and the obvious dilemmas within the facility. Instead of addressing the many issues, attempts were made to either minimize or downplay the severity of the situations. With that said, it has come to my attention that my name has been slandered and blatant lies have been spread about my departure and my stint at the facility. Someone has taken it upon themselves to try and falsely discredit me and tarnish my reputation through their backdoor channels. This is absolutely shameless and disheartening. Specifically, Major Bradley Logan, Chief Melissa Ritter, and others, and many other supervisors and staff worked tirelessly to improve the organization. To comprehensively improve the organization, there must be proper support and guidance from a dedicated, involved CEO, the trust, Without the appropriate and needed support, the Oakland County Detention Center will never change and never succeed as a professional, fully operational, and functional facility. For the record, I would like to truly thank CEO Garner for giving me the opportunity to come to the Oklahoma County Detention Center and work with a lot of great people. And I wish her good luck in the future. But the members of Oklahoma County Detention Center, the public, and the detainees deserve a more humane and functional facility. There also must be a purely unwavering and ethical
Time
group of
has
staff
expired.
driven to influence. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Falk.
First, let me start with the name Vincent George Burke. I assume all of you know who he is. Yeah. He was the first death of the year in the county jail, the 52nd death that we know of since the jail trust took over. This is a sinking ship. It is an absolute train wreck. You have people resigning right and left up there. We have people telling us every day that that jail under the jail trust will never be safe. You will never be able to hire enough people to run that jail, and you damn sure won't be able to hire enough people to run the new jail, the bigger, better billion-dollar jail. I'm going to submit this. I won't read it today. It's an anonymous letter that we received of someone who had worked at the jail and had issues at the jail. I'll put it in the record so you all can read it. What you have to understand is this. For years before the jail bond happened, we were saying, because we did the research, I assumed the jail trust would have done the research too. I know a lot of you weren't here either because, frankly, everybody on the jail trust that could resign, resigned. Tommy Johnson is only here because I think he doesn't have a choice at this point as the sheriff. And we appreciate the job that he's done. But you have to understand this until you face the facts that hiring people, and many of them qualified, some of them off the street. Early on, we know we had gang members as detention officers. That will not work. We need highly trained people to run that jail. Secondly, I will say this out loud, the jail trust, the Chamber of Commerce, the county commissioners all knew that $260 million would not build a jail. We told them that. I told them specifically, and it's on the news, I saw it on an old clip yesterday, 700 to 750 million plus interest. And that's where we're now at 3 years later. Why? Because we were lied to. The people were lied to, and we're sick of being lied to. At this point, the only thing that you can do to help Oklahoma County is to dissolve the trust and step down. That's what needs to happen. Absolutely what needs to happen. And finally, you need to decide how you're going to move forward, because a bigger jail does not solve any of the issues of the harm and pain in Oklahoma County.
Thank you. Our final speaker, Mr. Romani.
Still, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to speak to y'all today. I'm here for a subject matter that I've been observing for a while. I've been sitting in the cut, and I've been just observing and gathering information. First off, Tommy Johnson, I'd like to say congratulations to your re-election. It kind of sounds like I heard the gentleman before me speak, how you go through things, and you've been an honorable man, and that, you know, they spent $1 million just to try to unseat you, and you still won in a landslide. Amen. I want to address the topic of why the Catholic Church is being totally disrespected and not being allowed into the jail. I have acknowledged this and watched this, as I said, from a seat in the back. I've been monitoring all the emails. I've been monitoring all the visits. I've been listening to this and watching it. It's ironic that the gentleman that you see before you, Derwin A. Sixtus Romani, with my godfather, Deacon Roy Forsythe, at one time was a whole nother faith. And when that man met me in that jail, the same guy that's sitting here delivering this message to you, I have the precedent case. So arrogance, I won't even say arrogance, but pompous arrogance. Pompous arrogance causes people to repeat the same things of the past. When that man met me in this jail, I was a Muslim. I was of a different faith. When he met me in this jail, my life changed. I want to make a real good understanding of what I had to say. Derwin A. Sixtus Romani, while everybody's being arrogant, has the 1992 case on record that no one has been paying attention to, because I've told several of y'all about it, but you finna see with your own eyes. Because when I was in DOC, I saw that same thing. Warden after warden after director were arrogant. Until one day, a director came and visited me on one of my many class action lawsuits that I won going up against regular lawyers. I won. It went back to this same case, 1992. The case that I won against the Oklahoma County Jail, where they wouldn't let Muslim ministers come into the jail. After that, it all changed. There's a conspiracy to stop him from coming into the jail. It's open. It's without precedent that you're doing it again. You're bringing in Protestants, but the Catholic Church has been totally disrespected and not let in. This ain't the last time. My time is up.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment that was submitted prior to the convening of our meeting. At this point, we're ready to initiate the action items on our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any clarifications on the minutes? Seeing no clarification, if the clerk would please call the roll. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Abstain.
We will next move into our department items reports. First of those is a report by CEO Garner. As a matter of record, I would reflect that as many of you know, Ms. Garner has tendered her resignation. That resignation is effective in early February. As there was no, my apologies. I was not expecting this to be an agenda item. Okay, this was no, so with that, thank you. So with this, we are striking agenda item number 2. We are striking agenda item number 3. It is the custom of this body to elect its officers in June for a January start date. I am going to move agenda item number 6 up to this position, if you're ready, Director Garner, for your report. As I had indicated, Ms. Garner has tendered her resignation for a period of time effective in early February. As that was not done in a timely manner relative to the posting of the public meeting agenda for this meeting, the public can expect, as can members of this trust, it is likely that we will convene in special meeting at some point in the near future when we can provide appropriate posting to address the personnel decision that Ms. Garner has made. So with that, Ms. Garner, I yield to you for your report.
Good afternoon. This is going to be a lengthy report, but I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as possible. You should all have the handouts in front of you. Just wanted to do a quick overview of some of our annual data and information, as well as what's going on in the month of December, and then a little bit of a forward look. Hold on, I'm going to get this moved. Okay. So we'll start off with the OCDC statistics. It will include stuff about our current population, the head count, charges, recidivism, and the intake screening. As of today, our current population is 1,316, compared to this time last year, it was 1,231. There's a year-over-year comparison to the right between 23 and 24. As you can see, we're a little bit higher in this quarter than we have been in the previous year. If you look at the other stats on the left side, we currently have 125 that are have been sentenced to DOC that are awaiting transport. And when it comes to the data for the Oklahoma Forensic Center, I did end up getting that data at the last minute. It was 16 that we have awaiting. As far as the times that they are waiting, I do not have that data, but we are working to compile that as quickly as possible. And you can see the overall 10-year population trend. It's still trending downward, but we're certainly a little bit higher than we were this time last year. On the next slide, you're going to see the historical head count, just a more visual way what that looks like over the last 4 years. For December, the average number of people that were booked in is just over 52 people a day. The average daily population, if you go off of the morning population count, was 1,396, and the average length of stay for anybody that was booked in the month of December is just over 7 days. Top 10 current charges. These are people that are currently in custody. As you can see, possession of CDS is the top charge. It's 17% of the people that are in custody right now have a possession of CDS charge, followed by possession of firearm by a felon, and then they kind of trickle on from there. Those holds represent charge somebody that's awaiting extradition, somebody that's being held for another county. There's various levels of holds that just kind of encompasses. If you look at the number of people that have criminal felony charges, or the number of criminal felony charges that are booked into our custody, it's 1,351. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap there. And then we have 893 criminal misdemeanors. As far as recidivism goes, for the month of December, 68%, just almost 69% of the females that were booked in, they have been in custody at some point in previous times, compared to the 72.35% of men, and then it's further broken down by various demographics. The length of stay, as we mentioned, it's 7.11 days, and the number of people that are currently awaiting trial, their pre-trial, is 1,161. 207 people are sentenced, and that could be somebody that's sentenced to just county jail time, or it could be that they're waiting transport to go to DOC. If you look at the intake screening, this is the screening that we do at the beginning of the booking process that tracks whether or not somebody may have mental health issues, if they have substance use disorder, specifically opioids, or what other needs that they may have. As you can see, this is, it represents 3,730 people out of the 8,238 people that were booked in December, or throughout this time period, have screened positive for something, whether that is through the brief jail mental health screen, whether or not they were under the influence, if they have alcohol or substance use disorder, and so on and so forth. The next slide just kind of breaks it down a little bit further, and specifically during the time period that we've been collecting this data, which is from August 20th of 2024, we've had 237 veterans that were booked into custody, and there's several of the issues that they are facing that may have possibly led into their incarceration. 1,769 people have stated that they are homeless. 1,180 people have screened positive for the mental health evaluation. It's important to note that this is all just self-reporting data. It is self-reporting data, and so there is a margin of error, but at least it helps us know what our population looks like, what their issues are, and it helps drive what we're doing to address those. I did want to point out, I added another statistic back on this other slide, and it just says, of the people that were screened since August 20th, 55 of them, we've had 55 rebookings, accounting for 26 individuals. So moving in the future, that number should be looked at so we can look at our high utilizers and drive our programming to try to assist them so they can maybe not come back into jail. We'll go back over here. Current population overview, there's just kind of an age graph. You can see that 14% are female, 86% are male. It's broken down by various races. Special housing classification for December 2024. It just shows that we have a high number of people. Those top two lines are mental health observation or people that are on protective custody. This is data that was tracked since August of 2024. We're still working to get the data since we transitioned to medical, but you can see the number of psychiatric medications that have been prescribed throughout the year of 2024, and then the number of mental health encounters that they have had throughout the year of 2024. And both are on a steady increase. I apologize for this being so graphic. So many individuals arriving at the jail suffer from severe wounds, untreated chronic conditions, and acute health crises. These medical needs are often beyond the scope of what we can diagnose, stabilize, and treat in-house, requiring transport by the arresting officer for immediate evaluation and treatment at local hospitals before returning to our facility. The individuals, and I just wanted people to see what we're seeing at intake. Now, these are some of the most serious cases, but you can see that somebody has an open wound on their head that where there's no skull. And then, of course, you have lots of open wounds, you have tumors, various things that we are having to manage. The point of this is that we cannot get everybody out of jail and into medical care on a medical OR. Sometimes the charges do not allow for that because they're serious crimes. We certainly do try. We want them to be treated in the hospital and oftentimes surrounded by their own family members, but there are occasions where we are just not able to get them out of our custody. And so these are the ongoing issues that we will have to deal with, and it does take staff and resources to transport them to all of their medical on-site visits and just manage their care. For the year of 2024, we booked in 21,406 individuals. Oklahoma City is responsible for 13,188 of them, followed by Oklahoma County Sheriff, Edmond Police Department, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and Del City Police Department. Of those, 16,109 were men and 5,295 were women. And then for the top agency, we weren't really able to break it down for all the individual agencies, but because Oklahoma City does share the bulk of it, I wanted to make sure that I broke it down by race. So you can see the race and gender of the individuals that are being arrested by Oklahoma City and their prevalence. 2024 use incident statistics. Throughout 2024, we had 390 use of force incidents. It's important to keep in mind that just simple handcuffing could be considered a use of force. 26% of those, I can't really read that. I think it's 26% of those were related to the handcuffs, and then 56 were related to just deploying OC spray. We've had 359 disciplinary reports, 40 contraband reports that were submitted to our criminal investigations division, and of course we had 7 in custody deaths. We'll talk about our residents now and the welfare and the things that we're doing. Medical division progress, we do have a candidate for OBGYN. I believe she has already started. We're really excited to have a female provider in this role, and I think it's going to be very good for the women that we have in custody, and I'm just excited for that progress. We've also continued to revamp the clinics, buy the things that are necessary, update the exam tables and other supplies that are needed. So it does truly represent a clinic environment versus a jail pod that has been converted into a medical unit. We do have after-hours support as an APRN. We're working with the kitchen to refine and improve our medical diets. So we're going to be expanding the medical diets that are available. We have an education coordinator that's making detailed job and tasks for each position to remove the silo effect. And our medical team is still continuing to look at how we can create some ADA cells for those individuals that we have in custody that are disabled. Next up, talking about our programs. Most of these are all going to be the new programs or the same programs that we've had. We are working on a visitation program. So it's an initiative to encourage positive family engagement, such as family visitation support, communication enhancement to aid in rehabilitation, reduce recidivism, provide support to families, and reduce trauma experienced by children of those incarcerated. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to get this done, but they are committed to doing that. And I have a bit of a blueprint from the place that I came from before, Cleveland County. We started out with a child visitation, and it was geared at reducing the trauma experienced by children of having a parent that was incarcerated. I pulled some data on that just so you're kind of aware of where my mind's at when we're talking about doing this. In 2015, 1 in 14 children had a parent that was incarcerated. Of those, like 1 of 9 happened to be an African American child. That increases the amount of major trauma, and it's cumulative for them. It's considered an adverse event, and it causes a whole host of issues as they grow. It causes emotional difficulties. It decreases their school engagement from the ages of 6 to 11, and then it increases the number of problems that they experience in school from 12 to 17. So that's kind of the basis for what we're doing and how we're developing this program, and it's something that I would certainly hope to see continue on in my absence. Some of these you've seen before, but it's just kind of a year in review. We've done a lot to combat opioids and specifically fentanyl in the jail. I don't know that it's ever going to be completely eradicated in any correctional facility in the United States, but I think that we have made a really significant dent in it through all of our initiatives. CID, of course, they pursue criminal charges. They look at every possible angle, and when there are criminal charges to be filed, they will definitely do so. We've updated our training. They've started doing the strip searches. Everybody carries Narcan just so they can respond to it. We've increased the number of searches. We've partnered with canine search teams. We have the body scanner. We did start mail scanning, which reduced it significantly. And then any mail that we do have coming in, if it's coming from a legal source, we will call and verify whether or not the mail was actually sent in by the individual claiming to send it in. And then, of course, we're looking at programs for our residents so they have an awareness of fentanyl and the dangers of it, because even if they think that they are taking, and this goes for anybody in the community, if they think that they are taking marijuana, it could be laced with fentanyl, which could produce a deadly effect. So those are the things that we have done this year, and I think it has been pretty effective. Again, with the pod renovations and the improvements, those are going to continue on. There's just some pictures showing the condition of the cell after they've done it, and previous picture shows what it looked like beforehand. The cleaning system that we installed, it's still in use. Everybody really enjoys the chemical itself because it's non-caustic and it's something that is safe, and it also smells really fresh, almost like bleach, but it's safe. Our pest control applicator, back in May of 2024, we did hire a full-time pest control applicator as recommended to us by the Department of Health Jail Inspection Program Manager, and it's been very successful in reducing the bed bugs, and there are fewer complaints that are being generated. Obviously, it's going to take a while to get ahead of all of it, but You can see here the number of tickets that the residents are creating themselves is vastly reduced from when we first started the program, which indicates to me that it is a success. The HVAC project, that is still also ongoing, but it has already made a world of difference in the areas where they have gotten those operable. You can tell a difference when you walk into a pod. There's no hot spots and cold spots. It's very even temperature and it's easy to adjust. So hopefully that project will continue without any major issues. This is just some highlighted improvements. I'm not going to go through the list of them, but I just wanted to call attention to them. There is a memo that I released a couple of meetings ago that speaks to every single one of the improvements, but these are just some of the highlights. When it comes to staffing, right now we're at 330 full-time employees. 274 are currently in full-time detention employees. Compared to 55 of our full-time medical employees. I think the math is off of that. I'll have to double check. I'm sorry if it's inaccurate. December 2024, we had 165 that are detention certified. And then November of 2023, we had 141. So we're still headed in the right direction. It's just very slow progress. We don't have a whole lot of training updates. We have an academy that's going to be started, and they're just working really hard to get people hired on. If everybody goes through the process and they pass all the backgrounds and follow through with the obligations of the pre-employment process, it looks like we're going to have somewhere between 30 and 35, potentially more because they're continuing to conduct the interviews as quickly as they can. This is the academy training topics that are currently being taught. As you know, that we've gone to an 8-week academy. Those in blue are the ones that are required by the health department, and then the other ones are the ones that we include in addition to make sure that our staff is fully prepared to take on the job. We've had a lot of professional development, ongoing professional development this year. We've logged over 1,000 hours in 2024. We have a number of employee retention strategies that we've employed, including, we provide them a meal on duty. We offer them retention pay, a recruitment bonus. We've instituted T-shirts at their request that also reinforce our mission, vision, and values. We have invested in training initiatives and team building. We have a wellness room. We provide a counselor on staff. We have an on-site gym that is in the works. It's going to have equipment and a mat room, and they will have instructors there to help them learn how to use the equipment and also to have open mat time so they can work on crucial defensive tactics skills. We have Employee of the Month and staff recognition. This is actually something that's kind of being revised, but it's something that is going to be reinstituted. Employee monthly birthday celebrations, and of course the staff meals that have been prepared by leadership and some of you all on the trust. If you look at the resignations and terminations from July 2020 to December 2024, you can see that the resignations is still on the decline, and the terminations, there's a slight uptick of those, and it's hard to say exactly and put my finger on exactly what it is. I know that we've had a couple of terminations due to criminal activity. Others are policy violations, a number of things, but I attribute it to better accountability. This is just something that we were able to accomplish this year, and it's just one piece of the pie, but putting artifacts throughout the facility that reinforce mission, vision, values, help them feel a sense of pride when they walk into the door. That wall was kind of a dirty white paint when they first walked in, and now they at least have something that kind of greets them and kind of reinforces their mission. There is a TV screen in the middle that is a digital board that calls out, it's an attaboys or birthdays or anniversaries and pertinent news. We still have ongoing recruiting with our billboards, and I don't have the data on those as far as what the return is. And then I offer up some proposed future direction for whoever takes over. I have a couple of things in there. You're more than welcome to read over it, or I can answer any questions about it. I just don't see the need of me reading off of a slide that you have. And that does conclude my presentation.
Thank you for your report. Are there questions from members of the trust? Sheriff?
I think it's a fair and appropriate question to ask, certainly because it's brought up and well known. We see all of the updates and get updates from Mr. Steele about all the good things that are going on in the jail, whether, regards to the way things look, aesthetically pleasing, to bugs and, eradicating the pest issue. We see this and appreciate that. But then when you do see the health report, it contradicts what we're being told here. And just giving you the opportunity to speak to that.
So understanding that it is still ongoing litigation, it's kind of a difficult question to respond to, but I can tell you that a number of the things that are in that inspection report they should be refuted, as there's evidence contrary to what they're stating.
Follow up? Ms. Griffin, did you have a question?
Not necessarily a question. Well, I know we have changed the OBGYN provider at the jail, and as someone who really challenged you to live out and to make the changes necessary to have trauma-informed services, and I think that was a significant improvement for the services provided to the women. Has there been any feedback since those changes have been made? I'm sure we'll probably hear that when we hear some of the more about the changes in the medical, but I do want to say thank you for taking that request very seriously from this trustee. And if nothing else changes, I know that the services that the women are receiving are improved and more appropriate for the trauma that they have had in the past. So thanks. And if there's any feedback, I'd love to hear that.
I haven't received any feedback yet, but I'm also curious to see what the response is. And I believe, like you, it is definitely an improvement and something that was needed.
Yes. Mr. Arno, after the last meeting, we talked about Reverend Forsythe, and my understanding you were going to meet with him and talk about whatever issues, and so that is not taking place, correct?
Actually, it has not. We had the holidays, and there were a lot of things that happened in the midst of the holidays, and I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to him. But I definitely think it warrants having a discussion with him.
I would just ask that I know you're on your way out, that you would staff it out to someone. And Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna bring this up every meeting. And what I do is I talk to Reverend Forsythe and I'll ask him if someone met with you. I'm gonna do that next board meeting too. So, but I just respectfully ask that it's a real simple, just have someone meet with them, whatever your concerns are, whatever he has to say. And again, I believe it was 19 years he's been coming in there. So I think we owe him and his organization due consideration, and at least just meet with him and just whatever concerns you have and see that you can work through and bring him back in, even if it's on a limited basis. But I think we at least owe it to him just to meet with him.
For the record, we do have Catholic services there. The women are visited, I believe, once a week. So the men, because there are so many of them, I think that is the challenge that needs to be overcome. But I'm more than happy to have somebody look into it.
Religion aside, just this gentleman, what he is given 19 years. So I'm speaking to him, and so I'm glad that we still have Catholic services. But I think, again, as I said, we owe it to him to at least meet with him and give him due consideration. So
absolutely, I'm happy to do so.
Further questions, Mr. Johnson? I'll keep working my way. Pastor Scobie?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do echo my colleague, Mr. Johnson, as it relates to what we have talked about the last few months. Me coming up, being part of an African-American context as relates to the church, and you said something about response. It was something that you said a moment ago, and when I think about a call and a response, I heard no response. And I think people, they missed it because as far as I'm concerned, it is really the news of the day. Now, we're grateful for your tenure, but you have decided you're going to, move on, and we love you. We appreciate all the work over these last few years. But the news of the day is the fact that for the last, I believe, 5 years, there has been no in-person visits. Is that right?
That's correct.
So when COVID happened in March of 2020, is that really when it stopped, as far as you know? I know you were not here.
That's my understanding.
Okay, so we are all walking around here without masks or anything of that nature now. I had spoken to my colleague, Mr. Johnson, about this. I had met with Sarah Bana about this, and we spoke about it a little bit probably before Sarah and I did, but she had mentioned the fact that we need to make sure that we have in-person visits, and I could not agree with her more. So it looks like that you have on here in development visitation program. Is that
Yes.
okay? Now, what I would like to see, and I would certainly hope that my colleagues would like to see, and there's no vote that needs to be called on this because you are still the CEO, you're still the jail administrator. This needs to be implemented before you leave, because what will happen, whoever comes behind you, it'll go on the back burner. So I know the importance of our detainees being able to have in-person visits with their family members. Now, I understand it may be too much to, open the floodgates just like that, but we certainly need to open the floodgates for mothers with children. This needs to happen before you leave. It's just too important for it not to happen. Now, there may be some legal ramifications that at a later time, our ADA, Rod Hagee, he can tell us if it has to be for mothers and children and fathers with children. I'm not sure what that looks like. But if it can just for now be mothers visiting their children, we certainly need to rush down that trail. And if it has to be mothers and fathers, then we need to do that. Obviously, that would just be the first step into moving forward for us to open it back up. 7 days, I believe, is, you said, the average stay in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. Is that it?
For any given month, yes.
So what, just, off the cuff, what would you say as it relates to 45 days and more, 45 days and greater? Just not holding you to anything.
I mean, as far as somebody that would qualify for these visitations?
Well, yes and no, but just what would be the average number of detainees that are in our detention center that have been there more than 45 days? 48.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Yeah.
Okay, but just roughly.
Well, the vast majority of people that are there are going to be there longer than 45 days.
Yes.
Because the other part is just kind of the revolving door
Right.
of things. So I would say the vast majority of people that
The
have
vast
been there,
majority is
probably, and this is a guess, please
Yeah.
don't hold me
No,
to
no,
it,
no.
but I would say 70% or so.
Okay, 70%. So that would be roughly about 850, 900 detainees. And then we have percentage-wise 28% of those are women.
14%.
14.
Yeah.
14%. So if it is somewhere around 800 or so that would qualify, then that would mean that really only about 100, if we're talking about women and children, there would only be about 100 detainees that we would be looking to have in-person visits.
Right.
So,
Correct.
so that would not be, I don't believe it would be too much to ask for our staff, but let me help all of us. So you can't just, I said open the floodgate. You can, but you can't open the floodgate. It has to be some type of incentives there.
Sure.
The only way I can say it, because I'm from 21st and Kelly, only thing I can say is if you act a fool, then you nobody, they cannot come and visit you.
Correct.
You need to dial the fool acting down, and then your children can come and see you. It has to be something in place. And I believe that it will help our detainees overall. And I believe it will give hope even for those that do not yet qualify for in-person visits. If it's, hey, well, if it's fathers and mothers, okay, your children can come. But the hope would be, well, maybe it's going to open up for my mother to come, my grandparents to come. So it's of the utmost importance. So I know I preached the whole sermon now, but can you give this trust your word that you will at minimum get visitations for mothers with children, and if it has to be mothers and fathers, then you'll get that done.
So I'm hesitant to give you my word that I can get it done in 30 days, and let me tell you why. The model is, number one, you don't want to bring children into a jail facility. You need it to look not like a jail.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some groundwork and some infrastructure that needs to be laid there. The number two thing is we need to make sure that those parents are actually able to meet with their children.
For sure. Yeah.
Three is just going to be the pure logistics of it. We do have some staff that can help facilitate that, but we're going to have to get some community partnerships in place to make sure that it goes off as intended. You have to have resources in place when these parents meet with the children to make sure that they have the support that's necessary to deal with all of the things that come with that. Because in many cases, some of these parents may not have seen their children in many, many years or months, weeks, whatever it is, and the same goes for the child. And we want to make sure and take care to not traumatize that child further. The goal is to help build family units and figure out how we can reunify them. So I give you my word, we will definitely get started. But as far as before I leave, if they're going to be able to have a visit before then, I think it's a pretty aggressive timeline. I do have staff that they've started working on it as of this morning, actually. So we will certainly go down that path. I already have a protocol in place that I have to kind of switch up from the program that I had before. So that legwork has been done, but there's still a lot of groundwork that needs to be done with partners in the community.
Okay, thank you for that. So will you do everything you can to start implementing everything that needs to be implemented in order for that to take place?
Absolutely will.
Okay, and then I want to go on record to our chair that whenever this search starts for a new CEO, I want to make sure that that person knows this initiative has started and it needs to be followed through. The last thing I have to say, because I heard, I have ears so I can hear chatter. As it relates to, you said something about trauma, and then I heard some chatter. Well, here's the thing. It is, the onus is not on us as it relates to whether that child can handle. I understand it needs to be the best environment as possible, but the onus is not on us as it relates to whether trauma is going to take place for that child coming to visit their parent. That is on whoever would be the guardian. They know to bring that child or not bring that child to the. I'm not disputing or arguing what you said. I just want any and everybody else to know that I can't ever think of a time that it's not good for a child to see their parent unless there's some type of horrible situation that has transpired in the past or transpiring. But, regular relationships, even relationships that are difficult, still often the parent wants to see the child wants to see the parent. So.
Understood.
Commissioner Davidson, any questions? Okay. Director Garner and Pastor Scobie, I value very much the statement you just made about visitation, and Mr. Johnson, your comments about clergy visitation. Director, I think it is a fair request as you prepare to exit. You will certainly, as you prepare to do that, will be providing out briefing instructions to whomever might be named interim or depending upon the search where we may be at that point. I think it is fair and reasonable for us as trustees to expect updates on that at our next convened meeting, regardless who might be making the presentation on behalf of the facility. And so if you would please share with staff, I think the two are so important that it's worthwhile for us to have that before us, much like we did with the IT project, where we provided regular updates on that. It makes sense to provide regular updates on both of those areas. So thank you.
I'm happy to do so.
Seeing no other questions, Director Garner, thank you for your report. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept. Second.
If the clerk would please call the roll. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
By a motion of 7-0, the motion passes. Mr. Washington, I do want to acknowledge I heard you. We had our public comment set aside at the front of the meeting. Just as a reminder, we convene at 1:30. So thank you. I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your participation. You bet. Okay, so I finally figured out what happened, so I will take ownership for the fact that we scheduled this meeting or posted the agenda during a period of time where the county had declared 2 snow days. And so our clerk was doing her work from her kitchen table, I think, so we may have gotten some things out of the order. So if the members of the audience and members of the trust would grant us grace as we navigate through the agenda, I would appreciate it. The next item I would like to address is agenda item number 5, but it is also duplicate listed as agenda item number 8. This will be a follow-up to a conversation where we asked for a representation of our audit report from Hinkle and Company. Mr. Kirk Vanderslice is here to make the presentation. I appreciate your diligence from last meeting. I understand there has been progress based upon those conversations, and you're here to deliver your follow-up report.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Kirk Vanderslice. As presented last time, we did issue an audit of the financial statements for June 30th and had no deficiencies noted and clean opinions on those financial statements. Since that last time, there was a question that had been addressed, and upon working with management and third parties, we found that the financial statements are still appropriate and properly stated. So happy to answer any questions regarding those or the financial statements themselves.
Questions from my colleagues? Seeing no questions, if there's any discussion, seeing no questions nor discussion at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the audit report.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the audit report as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, if the clerk would please call the roll. Yes.
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 Great. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
And thank you for your patience and diligence. By a vote of 7-0, that item passed. At this point, we are going to, again, continuing the spirit of rearranging agenda items. We're first going to address agenda item number 7, which is our report of statements, financial reports by CEO Chris Sherman. Immediately following any action we might have on the finances, at that point, he will address the invoices and claims. So agenda item number 7, followed by agenda item number 4. And thank you for your patience, Mr. Sherman.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Excuse me. We'll get right into this. So our revenue for December of 2024, our total revenue was $2,960,255, which gave us a favorable variance of $75,698. Oklahoma Department of Corrections revenue for October and November boarding was $245,376. Telephone revenue was $95,943, which was below budget by $24,754. And some of that is attributed to the rate reduction we made from 11 cents a minute to 10 cents a minute during this fiscal year. Our commissary revenue was $53,943, which was below budget by $1,000, $1,057. And our municipal's contract boarding revenue for the month was $370, and our Oklahoma City contract is, of course, still pending. Our total expenses for December of 2024 were $3,223,608 for an unfavorable variance of $33,222. Our salaries, wages, and benefits totaled $1,891,195 for the month, which was above budget by $334,000 due to medical staffing. Our resident offsite medical care was $32,131, which was below budget by $37,869. Our electricity bill was $224,743, below budget by $15,257. Professional services and legal fees were $26,380. Our professional services other was $248,770, which was for painters who are still redoing our pods, janitorial services, professional consultations, and VIMED staffing. As soon as we get more staff, we're planning on that VIMED staffing to substantially start to come down once we have our own detention officer doing site checks.
Can you advance that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Telecommunication services were $24,430, which $11,926 of that will be reimbursed from the county for the ARPA networking project. Telecommunications equipment capital for the ARPA networking project was $35,721, which will be reimbursed from the county. Our training supplies were $17,535, which were for new uniforms for the academy, training equipment, rental, and training manuals. So for our summary for the month of December 2024, jail operations produced a net loss for the month of $63,354. Cash on hand after paying December invoices and December payroll and benefits is estimated to be at $1.7 million. If we go to our FY24 budget comparison to actual, our FY24-25 budget was $321,203, and we currently stand at $526,486, which would keep us on track for a favorable balance at the end of this fiscal year. The next page is our NCIC resident communications revenue. As you can see, it's slowly declined since July, but has kind of held steady since about October, in the $90,000 to $100,000 range. So next is our December income statement. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the income statement. The only difference, if we go to the budget to comparison to the actual, is after discussing it with Chris Pembroke, our CPA, in order, since we operate on a cash basis, his recommendation was that if you look at the very end of the income statement comparison year-to-date to budget, we have a caveat in there. It says not included in the income statement is the account receivable aging summary report, which is attached. And those are current billings. So the aging is correct on those. We double checked to make sure. On Oklahoma City, they were not billed until December. Based upon the fact we weren't sure what rate we were going to be billing them for. So once the trust established that, they were billed for the previous months in the FY. That concludes this part of my presentation. If anybody has any questions.
Questions on the presentation of financial reports?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the report. The only thing I'm going to ask is, as it relates to our colleague, Mrs. Markle, just if you could share that you did insert whatever that is. I don't even know what it was, but I think it would be good to say it because.
Yes, and actually, I did talk to Ms. Markle about this, and we're going to get back with Chris. She's not a huge fan of this particular way it's done, so I am working with her to address that to make sure we represent it the way that she would like to see
So
it.
she's content right now with whatever conversation y'all had.
She didn't say she was not. She just said she wasn't a huge fan of the approach. So,
Pastor,
That's
I can validate that. I actually had a chance to have a conversation with Ms. Markle, and she appreciated the progress being made, but she wanted us all to know that as a trustee, we should expect her continued work on further refinement of the way our financial reports are presented.
and one other thing, a note on our financials is that we have had a substantially high number when it comes to offsite medical. Some of that we have to go back through because some of those were pre-existing conditions, which the detention center is not responsible for. And we've had a couple that were fairly high dollar surgeries that we will be looking at to make sure that the county is not responsible for paying those.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Sherman on the presentation of financial reports? If there are no further questions, a motion to accept is in order. Oh, I'm sorry,
Quick
yes,
question.
Pastor.
Just since you mentioned that about this, the potential high dollar surgery. So what happens when detainees, when they do have health insurance? Who pays? Does their health insurance pay? I think that's a question that all of our Oklahoma County residents would probably like to know.
If somebody comes in with private healthcare insurance, that insurance does pay. Where we get into us being on the hook for it is when they don't have private insurance, because state insurance stops the moment they become incarcerated.
Okay.
State insurance referencing those who might be on Medicaid.
Correct. Sorry.
Or Sooner Care. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second? Been a motion and a second to accept the financial reports as presented. Any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
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 By a vote of 7-0, the financial reports have been accepted. Now, as we continue to meander back to agenda item number 4, this is our list of invoices and claims. Mr. Sherman.
Have the trust members had an opportunity to review the invoices and claims? Does anybody have any questions?
Are there questions on their invoices and claims as presented? Absent questions, any discussion? No discussion. There is a motion. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
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 By a vote of 7-0, the claims and invoices have been approved. At this point, we are going to move to agenda item number 9, which is the report from the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Citizens Advisory Board. I believe I saw Ms. Gelke in attendance today. Hello there. Welcome. Look forward to your report.
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon. My report is actually very light today. The Citizens Advisory Board has not had the opportunity to meet actually in quite some time, which is something that I would like to discuss with the Jail Trust. I think everyone is fully aware, but our membership is quite low and we do not have quorum. And so continuing to look to the Jail Trust to be able to help appoint additional members so that the Citizens Advisory Board can continue to do our good work. And we still very much have a presence conducting focus groups, as you are aware, within the detention center and continuing to provide those reports to the trust. We did not conduct focus groups in December in light of the holidays, but did actually distribute care packages, of which I believe you're aware, and some were present for the distribution of those packages. So just want to emphasize again how important this group is and how much we yearn to have additional members to join the advisory board.
So at the chairman's, at my initiative, I remember Pastor Scobie about 2 to 3 meetings ago really brought in some questioning on this, and I know that there had been some discussion. So this is something we need to get resolved. I am a graduate of the Citizens Advisory Board. I believe Pastor Scobie is a graduate of that. So if I would, Madam Clerk, if we could make sure that if we have not resolved, if that could definitely be an agenda item for our February meeting to force us to some point of action. I think that members of the trust would appreciate that. So if you would make note of that, that will put us in a position of having to respond by that date if we have not responded previously.
Wonderful. I so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you for your work that you do as a volunteer and also professionally. At this point, I will remind the body that we gather together again on February 10th, 2025 at 1:30. That is our next regularly scheduled meeting. I would also remind you that based upon the fact that we are soon to be in the middle of a search, we should all expect a special meeting notice to come out at some point once everybody is polled for their availability to start that process. So I want to give that forewarning. That will, of course, be posted as required by our Open Meetings Act. Are there any, we are going to, at the advice of council, are going to request a motion to recess into executive session before that. Are there any board comments or general remarks to be made? Seeing none at this time, I will entertain a motion to recess.
My apologies.
Yes.
As far as business goes, we did have the agenda item for the technology that was supposed to be put into the jail. Is that something we can get to?
It was not posted for action for this particular meeting, so we'll have to take that up with an appropriate posting. I appreciate the question very much. So a motion to recess for executive session. I see there has not been a motion. It was withdrawn. Is there a motion to recess? Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll. Yes.
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 The trust is in recess for purposes of executive session. Is there a motion to reconvene? Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to reconvene. If the clerk would call the roll. Yes.
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 By motion of 7-0, we are reconvened. There is no action item related to our matter for executive session. Proceed as discussed. And at this point, I will again provide the opportunity for any new business. Absent new business, at this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Clerk, call the roll, even though Miles reminds me each meeting we're not obligated to.
I did. There it is.
There you go.
All right. Yes.
Yes.
I didn't even get the answer. Yeah.
Yes.
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 We're adjourned.